This is Dr. Gadja, an economist, computer scientist, medical doctor, and global health PhD epidemiologist. I do this as a call in to help Ghana chart a course for greatness and, in the process, help Africa along the way. There are many issues we'll be discussing on this platform, and we welcome your comments, rebukes, and questions. Today's topic:
The last time I spoke to you, I promised to talk about the effect of import taxation and how on the African economies and how I see that. Basically, my perspective on import taxation. The last time that I spoke, I tried to talk about some of the issues that I think our thinking as Africa, or for that matter Ghana, leadership and political leadership is wrong. I mean, I just want to sensitize us as to how I think we should be thinking about some of the things that we think about. Another one that before I continue with this import taxation issue, I want to tell you a story. This was a conversation between myself, a conversation between one very notable professor in Ghana and myself. And what was the issue about? I was trying to tell him that there is the need for the economists in Ghana. When you think about ISA, all those good professors they have had, seen some of them and the things they talk about on the media. And I realized that there is one thing missing, or there is some things missing. Let me not say one. That what is missing is they fail to see their role and responsibility in shaping government policy. And I had gone to Ghana to try to engage them and try to find a way to sensitize them and try to encourage them to try to put their views about the economy that could help us in the public arena. I mean, through symposiums and all that in schools and universities, and so that at least if our leaders don't know what to do, the youth will be coming up knowing what to do. So that if we fail in this decade, we will not fail in the other. Unfortunately, most of them had this to say, oh, the politicians don't listen. When you advise them, they don't take it. My friend, we go to school to be able to affect the economies and the systems in which we live positively. We go to school to try to make positive social change. And so, if you are focused on the politician listening to you, you have a wrong start. Yours is not for the politician. Yours is for the whole economy. As an economist, it's because the politician doesn't play that much in the economy like the rest of the people. So if the people are educated well about the economy and they understand the in and outs of the economy, you can hope that their behavior and their attitude in economic decisions can be able to affect the country positively, so that positive social change will be created, and in spite of the political situations, the economy can move forward. And so, whilst I try to convince these professors, economic professors, about their need for advocacy in pushing the good economic theories and principles that they have studied and mastered, they always push back. They push back very strongly. And I'm wondering, so what are you waiting for? A politician that will listen to you? You not get it. I remember when I was in an institution doing cybersecurity, it was a DoD institution. That's Department of Defense in the US. I was made to understand that when you do, even because this institution was, so I had to do warfare, terrorism, anti-terrorism, and all those things. And cybersecurity means like it's security. Definitely, security is more than that. But one of the things and one of the courses that were taught was that even if you have intelligence, because we did intelligence also, if you have intelligence about a situation and you tell it to a politician, maybe he will not agree with you because his base is not where you are. Because politicians answer to their base. Let me give you an example. That is a simple example. Assuming for Ghana you have intelligence that there is probably the likelihood of a coup. Now, you did not have the intelligence because you eavesdrops or anything. No. You know, great countries don't use that as intelligence. They use analytics. And let me just explain to you shortly what analytics intelligence means. You realize that living standards are falling. Increase in the inability of people to feed themselves. Social upheavals. And all the likes of that. Everything that makes the individual no jobs, citizenry's life more difficult is an avenue for political and social disturbance. So you go to the politician and you tell them, look, I see that there's a potential for political upheavals in your country. Most notably, maybe a coup. So, I want to tell you that. Now, the politician in Ghana might want you to say, oh, have you heard something, who, and whatever. No, that is not the best intelligence. Even when you have an eavesdrop intelligence, you have to take it through analytics. And if whatever you tell them doesn't suit their base or doesn't suit something that when they go and do will make them popular, they will not take it from you, although your intelligence could be right. So that is one area where it is not easy for politicians to take your advice. But when you put your advice as an economist out there, maybe the politician will hear it. But the population is already hearing it because you are advocating, going around, telling about different things to help your country go forward. And talking about different ideas for progress. They may hear it. At least if they don't hear it, your audience are being influenced. And so you are creating some positive social change. And hopefully, the next set of politicians or whatever may apply some of your theories. And that is why I'm here on this end. Now let me tell you how the conversation between me and one of these professors went. He said, look, I'm telling you, we've done all we can do. There is nothing more that can be done. Ghana is going down. I said, what? Yeah, there's nothing more we can be done. Look, let me just use this scenario. That is him talking. Let me just use this kind of scenario to explain to you really what is happening. So he starts his story. He said, imagine a building like a dome, big, that shelters all of us. And we are all in this dome. The dome that produces or provides shelter for all of us is being subverted in the way that there are people inside the dome who from time to time go to the walls of the dome and chip out a brick or a cement block, whichever way you think about it, or a stone from the walls of the dome, in an effort to try and establish their own habitat of shelter within the dome. And they continue doing this process or practicing this habit, taking bricks and stones from the walls, building their own premises within the dome. Then he paused and asked me, what do you think will happen in the long term to all of us? I humbly told him that that will mean the dome will collapse. He said, exactly. The dome will collapse and all of us will die. That is exactly what is going to happen to Ghana. And I said, no. That is not an option that we should allow. He said, no, it will not be good. And then he goes on to say that this will lead to a catastrophic end, just like in the eras preceding our Fourth Republic. And I said, no, we cannot allow that to happen again. Because when that happens, we go back. Now think about it. Those who have been educated in economic policy and in whatever are the ones trying to lead. I mean, we vote for people who are not like dunces or don't know anything. But the best of us, given our knowledge in the country of Ghana, are the ones we vote into office. And even they are not able to direct our country in a way that brings progress and economic prosperity. Could you imagine if a soldier takes this office? What will happen? He said, I don't know. What can we do? And I said, oh, that is sad. Let me tell you this. If you look at the World Bank records on Ghana, Ghana has continually done poorly since independence. It's not a fabrication. I looked through them, I looked through the statistics, and it's not a fabrication. That is true. The only time Ghana had been in a red, basically being a red on those charts it's like moving downward from where you are in real numbers. I'm not talking nominal numbers here. In real economic data. So moving downwards. We continue moving downwards. The only time that we were in a green was during President Kufuor's time. And you know why? It was because of the Millennium Challenge Fund debts that were forgiven in Ghana. Because of that, we came into the green. But shortly thereafter, we went back into the red. And that is also explanatory. The reason when we went back into the red, now they gave you debt. They forgave you debt, right? So, and then gave you money on top of it. That a Millennium Challenge Fund, which the Kufuor administration was able to get some. So that pushes you into the red, into the green. Because you had money. So regardless of what your GDP was, when you take that money and add it to it, you are in the positive. Now, We went back into the red because the money we got went into the supply of money in the system without adequate provision of goods and services to absorb that increase in money supply. Hence, we saw prices going up, making our debt more expensive, and then back into the red. That is what has been happening. And so I told this honorable professor from one of the prestigious universities in Ghana that the whole time that we were under military regime, we did not go forward as a country. One of the main purposes is that military regimes are very difficult to trust by the international community. Second, military regimes do not understand, to a large extent, how to run an economy. So if they are not able to attract smart economists or people who understand what is going on, the whole economy fails. At times they're able to attract some because some donor agency may suggest somebody. But you have to know that the person that is suggested from donor agency is working for the donor agency. So if the military man is smart enough and is able to attract somebody who understands economics themselves, then we can hope and believe that that economist is working for the junta or for the military regime. Until that happens, all military regimes are not trusted, and that affects economic performance of these countries. But that was what my friend told me, that we are in a dome and we are actively destroying the building blocks that are part of the dome that gives us shelter. And so the dome will eventually collapse, destroying all of us. But I have a different view, and I hope to be able to push these things, advocacy forward, so that at least the youth, the younger ones, will be able to come up with smarter brains than this. Smarter brains than this, so that they can solve our problems. And as I sensitize politicians and the African or the Ghanaian as a whole, brighter and smarter ideas will come to the fore. To improve our country. So, taxes. Now, I'll just zoom directly to import taxes. Now, why do we implement import taxes? African countries have been doing this since some time now. From colonialism, some of them broke ties with their colonial masters and implement import taxes to protect local thieving industries to be able to come up and be successful in their quest to industrialize. And so there were tariffs, quotas, what have you, all over the continent Africa. And Ghana did their portion. There's some. The first President Nkrumah had thought about a very kind of, I don't want to say ostentatious, but some kind of great and very expensive industrialization plan that he wanted to put forward. I mean, Nkrumah, you realize that although he spoke of mainly as being from Britain, but he spent a lot of time in the US. And so you could see that his ideas, he honed them in the US as a professor. So he saw what was being done and wanted to implement same in his country, Ghana. So he put in tariffs and quotas so to help the industries that he has created to be successful. In be able to be successful means they have the adequate demand to meet the goods and services that they produce, such that they can improve. So taxes on imports during that time was put on goods and services so as to protect local industry. The other reason, which I find very strange, for import taxation is to produce revenue for the taxing economy. For instance, Ghana put import taxes on things to produce revenue. And it is being seen as one of the major revenue producing elements of the Ghana Revenue Authority. And I find it very interesting. Let me say this. What I found very interesting too is that for an agency like an Internal Revenue Service, which is Ghana Revenue Authority, declares profit. And I'm sorry, but I sit down and I wonder, what did they sell? You know, it's like, you declare profit? What did you sell? Or the Bank of Ghana declare profit. What did they sell? And yet the journalist and everybody is sitting down looking at it and don't realize what is being done wrongly here. Actually, if I will say the journalists in Ghana are not doing a good job, I mean, it's for the country. I say it painfully, but it's sad, because the journalist is supposed to be the guardian, the custodian of the country. But that role is not being played well at all. Anyway, let me just leave that. Why they don't play that role, probably there's a reason to that. And maybe it should be a constitutional revamp to change those things. And I think that will happen. But now we have to have some tools to do that revamping. So, import taxes to generate revenue has been one of the key reasons that Ghana has import taxation. Now, let me debunk the first point that I made, and then I'll come to the second one in terms of protecting local industries and then the revenue aspect. Now, protecting local industries is not necessary any longer. At least in Ghana's experience, what we found out after the tariffs or the quotas were removed was that the local industries were not doing well, either in terms of management or in terms of the product. We realized that when those quotas were removed, the products that came from outside that served the same purpose as the ones being produced from the local industries were of much superior quality than those that were produced by the local industries. For instance, you can call matches, you can talk about machete, you can talk about bicycles, you can even talk about oil. So many things. You can even talk about tinned tomatoes. So when the quotas were removed, we saw that the local industry couldn't compete. After several years of being protected, enjoying tariffs against imports, making imports very expensive, and so their products were the ones that were being purchased. Now, why were the tariffs removed? Because they were harmonizing customs code, import codes, and so the harmonization process created a situation that some of the tariffs were brought to levels that were not excessively high, and that allowed some of those products to come into a country and were being purchased. And also, as the economy started to go up, their desire or the wanting of the population to consume superior products increased. And who can blame them? They want to. You will want to consume a superior product if you can afford it. And so that led to more of the superior products being consumed, hence the collapsing of most of these local industries. And not just that alone, but also political wrangling and all other things where they were doing this divestiture programs and all that, trying to privatize the companies, because they were state-owned and so on and so forth. This was quite some time ago, because they believed that the West, capitalism is what was ruling, and that is what has made them better. To some extent, yes, but it's regulated. So you realize that the protection of the local industries did not make them better, although they had almost all the market share. And so this time, we shouldn't do that to protect them. I believe that is not being done for that purpose. The main purpose that I think the import duties are there and at times go up is for two things. One, the import duties are taken in terms of dollar, and that is sad. That is the base of dollarizing our economy, which everybody looks at it, but nobody's saying anything. Import duties being tagged to the dollar. So when you import at, say, 1 cedi to the dollar, that's one I'm giving, and just assuming a parity rate of 1 to 1, and the items arrive. But it happened that by the time you are clearing your items from the Ghana ports, the dollar increases. The cedi parity to the dollar is now 150 to a dollar. Your import taxes will go up by that 50%, which means that you are paying more now than you would have paid earlier on, because it's tagged to the dollar. The guy who imported the item will also want to make up for that differential in pricing, and so will increase the price of the product on which he had paid 50% more than he actually expected to pay in terms of duties, because of the increase in the dollar to the cedi rate. You see, now that product getting on the market is selling for higher than it was selling before. That practice makes, I'm trying to jump a little bit to go towards it, that practice makes imports the leading indicator of price increases in Ghana. Let me say it again. With that practice, import then has become the leading indicator of price increases in Ghana. Why? Because the duty is charged in dollars. There's no way of turning around and telling me you are not dollarizing the economy. Dollarizing the economy is not based on charging dollars, but it's based on pegging the cedi to the dollar in terms of taxation. That is, now the dollar has become the benchmark within which you view or analyze products in your economy. That is where the problem is. That is where the problem is. The other problem that you can think about is increasing the actual percentage of taxes that we charge on these imports. Now, it can be explained by African governments that as they harmonize the custom duties and all that, they are all using the dollar rate, and that is why. My friend, listen, why are you using dollar rate though? Why are you marking your thing up each time the dollar goes up? If you think about it, they mark it up, but what do they receive? Cedis. So all this is done to receive more cedis. Is that not it? Now, that means the government is taking more cedis from the available money for aggregate demand. Which from one way you can think about it as trying to reduce the total aggregate demand in the economy. That's what taxes does. But that leads to very difficult living for the people. Because government takes it from that side as taxes, the prices go up, less people are able to afford the product, and their standard of living is made worse. I think I have to get another assessment to complete this part, this taxation thing. Their situation becomes worse just because the dollar increased. And that leading price from the imports begin to affect other locally produced goods such as staple foods, yam, corn, or maize, and what have you. Because that increase in the dollar is expressed throughout the whole economy. So assuming there was nothing like that going to happen, because the prices were not expressed in dollars, you realize that is a problem for the whole Africa. There will be no increase in the actual price of the product because there's no increase in the taxes for the importer. He paid the expected taxes for which the price of the product will be the same. This is just assuming. This is just a simple scenario so that I can explain this. You see? So there will be no leading increases in price indicators as we have been seeing from imports. Hence, the standard of living of the ordinary Ghanaian is not made worse. These are things that we have to look at and understand that we earmarking import duties to the dollar, which we know is almost always rising against the cedi, is not smart. At all, not smart. There are other aspects of this that I'll come to in the next segment. Thank you for listening. Gaja.